everyone, and welcome to the Burgess podcast, the show where we are opening up conversations about life at sea, discussing hot topics within the industry, as well as offering mental health support and promoting well-being for crew. We also have our very own in-house recruitment team, so if you or anyone you know is currently looking for a new position, please send your updated CV to recruitment@burgessyachts.com or check out our recruitment posts on Instagram at Burgess Yacht Crew. We're going to be talking about some topics which some of you may find triggering, so please do check out the show notes before listening. We ran our annual Healthy Living Week last week, with the focus being on addictive habits. So we really wanted to follow up on this by talking to someone who could offer guidance and support to crew on this topic. So we were really thrilled to be joined by Andrew Roch, founder of the Crew Academy and the Crew Mess. The Crew Mess is yachting's primary addiction support and intervention service, and Andrew shares his insights on how addiction can impact the lives of yacht crew. His experience in this field provides us with some valuable reflections and sheds light on the importance of addressing addiction within the maritime community. So, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. We're holding our annual Healthy Living Week, and this year we're discussing addictive behaviours. Can we start at the beginning? Can you tell us, what do we mean by addiction? What is meant by addiction? And how does an addiction develop?
Really hard one to quantify, because we all have various addictive traits, and addiction can manifest itself in so many different ways: online shopping, gambling, gaming, drinking, drugging. People are addicted to love and falling in love. There are so many variables on it. So, every day, if you look around you and think about your family group, your working group, and your socializing and friendship group, if you're aware of different behaviors, you suddenly seem to identify repeat patterns in people. So when you go out with a friend and they're always drinking 2 to 1 compared to you, they'd like to stay longer in the bar. They possibly want to go out after dinner and drinks. Possibly, that they don't necessarily go home early and they may get up very late and struggle. So where you see a pattern of repetitive behaviour, that could be qualified as addiction. My area of expertise is really the drugs and the alcohol side, and defining if someone is struggling with addiction. Chronic addiction, which is daily use; binge addiction, which is in cycles, 3, 5, 7, 10, 21 day, 30-day cycles. And it's about understanding the individual. If you get time with a person, can observe their behaviour and can sort of map it out and think, okay, I can see something's not right here, then that's possibly an addictive trait to support them on.
Yeah. A lot of people, and I include myself, use alcohol as a confidence boost. When we don't want to be seen as the boring one, we want to, boost our confidence in social situations if we're a bit nervous. When does it tip from being used as a tool to boost your confidence to suddenly becoming something that you're leaning on too heavily?
Oh, I think let's use Monaco Boat Show as an example. It's a great one.
Okay.
So what would surprise you is, I would say, a large number of people at the boat show don't drink at all. Perception-wise, we assume that they're drinking a glass of champagne or they're drinking a beer. But if you observe people and you watch them at dinner or at drinks or at a party or an event, you can clearly see those people who are business orientated, who are taken seriously, compared to those who are falling out of Rascasse at 3 a.m. 6 nights in a row at Monaco. And then you've got to look at their behavior over a longer period of time. Are they doing that consistently? Is it part of their makeup? Are they known and have a reputation? So I used to be an alcoholic. I was a drug addict, and I was a child abuse victim from the age of 9 to the age of 11. So I understand where my trauma comes from, where my use of drugs and alcohol came from. And when I dealt with my trauma, I stopped drinking and drugging. It was a journey that I had to go through, but for 21 years in yachting, I was perceived as a heavy drug user, an alcoholic, and quite mad. Behind every addiction is a story. And if we take the time to ask and to find out about the story, then we can possibly help people. So socializing, drinking, having fun, wonderful. That happens in every industry. whether you're an engineer, a road sweeper, a shopkeeper, an accountant, a lawyer. It is definitely not just yachting. Every country in the world, every demographic has a challenge or two with sort of the dynamics of how they interact. And drinking a glass of wine does give you confidence. Absolutely. But try doing it 5 nights in a row when you're at different events and don't drink. And remember waking up in the morning, the conversations you've had and the in-depth sort of relationships that you build when you don't drink. They are far greater because you are able to ask the questions and actually listen to the answers. It's an interesting one. I look at Monaco and I love it. I haven't been for a few years. I sort of extracted myself out of it. But I look at it now as a wonderful opportunity for people to go and meet and interact. And not everyone drinking a glass of wine is an alcoholic. Let's be clear on that. 99 are not, but one is. And it's about supporting that one person and understanding why.
Yeah. So how do you spot the signs? How do you spot the signs of that one person? And how does that one person know that they might need help?
So denial is the wonderful, disease of the alcoholic or the drug addict. We don't like to admit, recognize behavior. And that's why we continue doing what we do, because it enables us to forget and to not worry about the reputation or the repetitive behavior. And we only repeat behavior because we are deeply broken as human beings. And it's only until you start to rebuild yourself that you understand why you did this. How do you identify signs? Let's look at it from a crew perspective. Observe your crew. Have good discussions in the crew mess. Don't make all the social events based around alcohol. Enjoy food, exercise, conversation, great peer reviews, weekly, monthly mental health check-ins. There are so many things crew can do that literally take a fraction of a minute each day just to sit, observe, and have a conversation. Say, how are you today? I noticed you look tired. Can I help? Yeah, actually, I'm not sleeping well. Is there something wrong at home? Actually, my mother's really sick at the moment and I'm struggling because I can't get home. Ask the questions, create the conversations, and then suddenly you understand and realize why. But repetitive behavior, why does the bosun go out every Friday night, get drunk and fall down the ladder and have to be put to bed? That's a behavior that I would definitely look at and ask why. And then the excessive drinking or drugging where someone is incoherent. There's a reason why people get like that.
Yeah. So as an individual, I mean, I understand that like you mentioned earlier, that the first step is self-acknowledging that you have a problem and that you need to talk to somebody. How does a person get to that stage?
I wouldn't even say that's. I think the individual is the last person that knows that they've got a problem. I think it's the people around them who suddenly wake up and say, "Is everything all right?" How do they take those first steps? You're either directed by a family member, a sister, brother, husband, whatever, or a crew member, or your management, your DPA, if there is this repetitive behavior, and people have to ask the question. But I always believe it's the leadership at the top down. The captain has to be able to identify the behavior in that crew. What are the dynamics? What's working? What's not? Are people happy? And then if they are, clearly observant. I got a call the other day from a captain. Actually, he's struggling with alcohol, but he has a great friend who is a chef, and the chef is pretty much out of control with alcohol and cocaine. And we've spent 3 months trying to get this individual into a program, and we're not there. We won't be there probably for another year or two. But when you see people being hired and fired from boats, and there's that very quick cycle of in and outs, reference checks, finding out why someone left the boat, asking the relevant questions to the right people to really understand why, all really important in yachting. But as I said, it's all about time and those around the individuals and those in the senior leadership positions understanding their crew's behavior and then being able to point them in the right direction. Nautilus, yacht crew help, the mess, the stuff we do. Every country has hundreds of resources available, from rehabs to counselling. Karine with the yacht counsellor, There are some great people in yachting who are actively dedicated to supporting Yacht Crew. And it's something that we talk about often. We teach HR within the academy side, HR recruitment and retention. We teach pursers and captains and officers to build a proper HR department on board the boat. And within HR comes well-being, comes mental health. And if you foster a really positive environment, then if someone is struggling, then you can help them. And at the end of the day, if they really are truly struggling, then you've got to get them off the boat, repatriate them, get them into a program, but don't forget about them. The hardest thing is when you leave a team or a crew or a company and you're going into treatment and no one contacts you, because effectively you're then alone. So follow up, continual conversations.
Yeah. There's certainly more information out there. It's more widely talked about now. There are more support groups, courses, programs that people can join, which is wonderful. And, we fully support that. But I'm interested to know how does a captain tackle the subject of substance misuse and addiction while balancing the safety of the yacht, the legal issues, and also while encouraging an open, shame-free culture on board? Because we encourage people to talk, and there's a lot of shame attached to the word addiction. And so how does a captain tackle that whilst balancing safety?
I think captains would look at their demographic within the group. You see all behaviour within that group. Again, how does a captain foster positive mental health on board? Train, listen, create pathways for career development, anything to do with empowering human beings to be the best version of themselves. But the captain has to be the best version of themselves. And that's, we often forget about the captains. Our captain mental health programs, which are free and they're 8 hours, we are fully booked year on, year out. We're 4 years in. We do about 85 to 100 captains a year who come for 2 evenings. No one trains them and gives them the opportunity to actually come away as a student, sit and learn and actually be honest. So I often have calls from captains who say, look, I'm really struggling. I can't talk to anyone. And I'm like, right, call Corrine or call Brendan or call someone, but have those conversations. And when we start supporting them, then they learn how to support those below them. And as I said, it stems from top down. If you've got a toxic captain or a toxic chief officer or a toxic chef or toxic purser or engineer within the team, you're already starting with a hand time behind your back, because there's that one person. And if you get your recruitment right, you get your HR right, you have a really positive training program, educational program, great food on board, healthy, nutritious food, a gym or time to train, just giving crew 30 minutes a day to go for a run or to take 30 minutes air. These are tough working environments. So give them time to get some air. And I'd say probably one in 3 boats, there is a challenge on board with one individual or multiple individuals who are struggling with predominantly alcohol or cocaine. Those are the 2. But what we did see this summer is we saw prescriptive opioids starting to rear their ugly heads, predominantly from boats coming back from the US and the Caribbean, where possibly crew members have been injured and prescribed opioids, fentanyl, etc., Oxycontin. And, the moment you're prescribed, you are pretty much screwed, if I'm frank. It's the biggest challenge in recovery in the world at the moment. Getting someone off opioids is the hardest task for any treatment centre or program or counsellor. It is so difficult for us.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of documentaries on the opioids, and it is frightening, and how easily accessible it is as well.
And, at the moment, there's an epidemic of drug dealers in England cutting ketamine and cocaine and other drugs with opioids in order to get the user addicted far more quickly. Very, very clever strategies. I mean, it's a business. Alcohol and drugs are businesses. They are global corporations, and it's a tough struggle. But that doesn't mean that every time someone has a drink, they're going to be an alcoholic or sniffs a line of cocaine or has a joint, Recreational alcohol or drug use, they are personal decisions. The people we deal with are those that really are struggling. And we haven't touched on why. Why do certain people become addicted? There is, in 99.9% of cases, trauma, childhood trauma, or trauma from sexual abuse, sexual harassment, rape, the way your parents bring you up. Just telling a child 10 times that they're thick creates a program in their head that they're thick. If you do that repetitively over years and decades, that individual will never, ever be able to overcome the fact that they think that they're less intelligent than they actually are. So deprogramming people, giving them the chance to create a different self is a thing that we do daily with our patients. And it's lovely to see someone change fundamentally as a human being. And life should be fun, you know?
Absolutely. No, it's wonderful. I'm interested, again, I know we touched this earlier, but if a captain or a crew member sees that one person on board who they believe is struggling, my understanding is that, there could be emotional consequences from, being addicted to alcohol or drugs. What do they do? What does that crew member do if they spot the signs in someone else?
Have that conversation with their superiors, take it up. The DPA has a legal obligation to be involved if it is a major problem. So take it up the chain, sit down with the individual, have that one-off open conversation. It can be an intervention where a specialist is brought on board if there is consistent repetitive behavior and everyone goes, Johnny's got a major problem, Julie is struggling. Then you do a full intervention, you get a specialist on board, and you make the environment safe where you can get them off the boat, inform the family or the next of kin, get them into a treatment centre. And as I said, once they're in, support them, send them videos of the crew each week, send them, an email, a letter, a WhatsApp, keep them engaged, keep them feel part of it. But the first thing is have the conversation, take it up the chain. Yacht Crew Helpline, Korean Racing, the MESS, AACA, NA, hundreds of organizations globally. Every island, Antigua, St. Martin, Barbuda, St. Kitts, St. Martin. St. Martin's got a great AA group,
And I think that's the most important part of this conversation, that is to remind crew that there is support available. That you're not on your own. If you're having any concerns about yourself or anyone else, then there is places like the crew mess that they can go to. So can you tell us a little bit about the program that you do?
The mess is there as a place where people can call to speak to me or to others and to get advice. The SAW is our main program that stands alone as being a solitary program that we build for individuals on a one-to-one basis. Rehab is where we get people clean. So getting you clean of alcohol or drugs is a process. It's a medical process. We then work with you on your brain and your mind and build a program where you reprogram yourself every day. So I get up at dawn. I've got about 400 people around the world. We dial into the same call. We don't see each other, but we all know where we are in our gardens at any one stage of our day. In New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Sussex, we must have a dozen people in Sussex. And everyone does their own program quietly in their garden or on their balcony somewhere outside. And that programs you for the day. And the moment you finish it, you have a great day.
And the program is tailored to the individual.
Tailored to each individual around their trauma and around the reason why. But in terms of, yachting as a whole, yachting is a reflection of the wider world. It's not necessarily larger in yachting than it is in Sussex or in London or in Delhi or in Mexico. It's pretty much everywhere. It's about looking at the human being.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important that we do talk about this, and we have to talk about it from from all angles, the individual, their journey, as you've talked about, but also the impact and the consequences it has on everyone around them, to the safety of the vessel. At the end of the day, there is a risk there, so we need to support the captains and the yacht management teams managing both, supporting the crew. Of course, that's ultimately our goal, but it's how they all intertwine and how, we can help everyone reach the end goal, which is to have healthy crew that feel supported and know of places like the crew mess that they can go to talk to when they need it. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for talking to us. It's a topic that obviously we could talk about for hours. We'll add some links to the show notes to the programs and the courses that you provide, because such a useful tool and everyone should have access to them. And yeah, thank you so much.
You too. Thank you.